Okay, we're going to talk about move out accounting now. The difference between move out accounting and quick refund is move out accounting will apply everything. And in general, when you're talking about a termination, we are going to be sending out a message about this. We're still in some discussions with deal manager to make sure everybody follows. But when a tenant is gone, when a tenant leaves early, now normal natural expirations do not matter. Yardi will tell you that you have to enter a termination for all tenants. And for some reason, that is because sometimes if they have a natural expiration, the status, sorry, on the tenant when they expire doesn't automatically change to past. If this happens, so a tenant is still showing up on your rent roll who is gone, just reach out to us. We can change them to pass and have them drop off. You do not have to do a termination. To fix that, we can fix it. It's 2 seconds. So please do that. However, if a tenant leaves early, let's say they, are supposed their lease isn't supposed to expire until the end of the year, but they leave now. In general, we're going to want you to go ahead and terminate them. But when you enter the termination, this isn't really about terminations, but I'm just going to show you this. When you enter the termination date would stay unless you know at this point, the minute that they're gone, you know when that termination date is going to be, would stay the end of the lease. The termination date in Yardi determines when charges end, okay? The move out date determines when the space is available. So we want, as soon as the space is available, we want that reflected in Yardi. But the beauty of Yardi is, let's say you don't know what the agreement is going to be about them paying out their lease or anything like that. You leave the termination date as it is, but you put their move out date, their actual move out date. And then let's say, and this happened to me multiple times when I was an accountant, let's say now you have come to an agreement and they're going to pay their terms out through June. Then you can just terminate them again. The move out date would stay the same, the actual date they left, but the next termination date would be June 30th, right? And you can do that as often as you need to because, I always use this example. So if you've done other calls with me, you've heard it. We had a pizza place at a student housing development. And the agreement was that they would continue to pay their lease until we found a new tenant. But we could have said, you're going to pay your lease through the end of 2025 or when we find a new tenant. And so we might have done an original termination while we were still working out the arrangement of what that agreement was going to look like. And that would have kept the termination date, the end date of the lease. And then when we agreed to the end of 2025, we would have done a second termination to say it was the end of 2025, move out date the same. And then when we found a new tenant, we would have done a third termination to actually end the charges whenever the new tenant's charges would start. So in Yardi, you can enter multiple terminations. So as soon as somebody is gone, go ahead and enter a termination to get them out of the space in the system. And then worry about ending the charges, truing up their ledger, all of that you can do once the lease has been terminated. It will change them to past, as we have discussed. So it can make posting some things more complicated, but it will make it much easier for everybody to know that space is vacant. So if we are doing move out accounting on a tenant, you can only do move out accounting one time, technically. You can also only do opening charges one time. So keep that in mind. It's not 100% true. There are ways around it, but it is in general true. Move out accounting is when they leave. Opening charges is when their lease starts. So if we're doing move out accounting is going to bring in everything. Sorry, I'm just going to grab, hopefully somebody who has a balance. Move out accounting is going to pull in their security deposit balance and all of their outstanding charges so you can apply them all in one screen. If they owe money, it'll say they owe money and it really won't have much effect, although it will apply those things together. And if you owe them money, it will create a payable to refund the balance. So if you are going to owe them money, do try to get at least an estimate of everything they're going to owe posted, like, estimated CAM, all of that kind of stuff. Get that posted so that it will be available to clear, because obviously once a tenant is gone, you're not going to get any money you refund back if you didn't bill them everything. It's highly unlikely they're going to come back and pay that. So the more charges you get on their ledger, the better off you are. If they're going to owe you, you don't have to do move out accounting. You can just do an application batch. It is not required to do move out accounting. If you have somebody that you're going through a legal fight with and the way you apply the security deposit matters, which it does sometimes, you probably don't want to do move out accounting. You want to do an application batch. And to do an application batch, you would create a negative security deposit and then apply it. Please keep in mind, if you're don't create a negative security deposit until you are ready to book that application batch. Because I have had people create the negative security deposit, forget, and then they go do move out accounting. And Yardi doesn't know the difference between a negative charge and a security deposit credit. And so it will refund any security deposit they have on the account plus that negative charge. So it will double the security deposit refund, not to mention make a mess on the tenant's account. So don't create a negative security deposit charge unless you need to. And if you need to, create it and immediately apply it. But if it matters, whether it's applied to old outstanding rent or old outstanding CAM or late fees or termination fees or whatever, you'll need to do a negative security deposit and apply